Bernadeschi scores. Daniel Lucci comes on the pod. Third time's a charm. You've come on in 2020, 2021, now 2022. So Daniel from All Juve Cast, man, how's it going?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing well. Much needed win today. On to the finals. And how you guys? Thanks for having me again and looking forward to it.
It's always a pleasure, Luch. You know that we talk off air a lot, so it's always a pleasure to have you on to chat Juve, to chat Calcio. It's fucking 3 years. It's crazy, man. But we became pretty close. So you know what? If there's one thing on social media that's a positive, it's connections like this. So it's always a pleasure to have you on, buddy.
Plus, it's fun to jab back and forth with the teams that we support and stuff. It's always fun. It's always
absolutely.
Plus, I know Gianni and Lucci, you guys actually met in person. So me and Gianni still have to come down to Toronto.
Yeah.
Or you come here, Lucci.
We're gonna have to make something happen. Absolutely.
But I mean, it's good that Juve won today because I asked you to come on before on the weekend, so it was before the game. And it's good that Bernadeschi scored, but we know it was a very up and down week for Juve, like it always is. So we had the 1-1 tie against Bologna, but then today 2-0 win against Fiorentina. We'll start with the positives, like you said. Coppa Italia going to the final. Was it that third straight year now into the final? They won last year against Atalanta, obviously. But what did you make of the game today?
Well, what's there really to say? Fiorentina had more possession. They probably had more opportunities as well. If I'll double check the stats, but I'm almost sure that's the case. Yeah. It's classic. That's a classic Allegri match, man. Nick, you've probably watched just as much as I have this year, so you know exactly what it's like. It's frustrating. Yep. And then I guess when it works out, everyone's praising Allegri, everyone's praising the team, but then when it doesn't work out, we see things like Bologna, and it's a dumpster fire. So it's been a year where we take some good, and then we'll take about 2 steps back of the bad. So we'll take it. Finals, and here we come.
Do you think maybe just to touch upon that? Is it because Allegri, mind you, I know we've discussed this and I'm pretty sure you posted about it before, but just to get to the viewers, the ones that just listen to us, do you think maybe that a lot of the times Allegri is just getting bailed out by some of the talents on the field? Or do you think maybe it's just his system, even though it is frustrating to watch, at the end of the day kind of works? Which way would you lean towards?
You know what? It's tough to say that this team is not talented. When you look at roster for roster, it's still one of the maybe top 3, top 4 most talented teams. So to say that they should be doing terribly is definitely not accurate. But I also think what Allegri's trying to implement with this team, and the defense has looked okay, sometimes look shaky. I just think he's trying to force things where it's not going to happen. He's got to find a plan to work on this offense. We're struggling every game to score goals. Maybe not so much today, but rare occasion. So Bologna, you got to be able to score goals. It's Bologna, right? Not to bring up bad memories for Nick, but it's a combo for me. For me, it's a combo. Allegri is trying to put a square peg into a circle, a circle hole, or whatever the saying may be. But it's definitely been frustrating this year. So I'm still on the fence with Allegri. I know Nick's not so.
I'm far past. I'm far past that fence. I don't even see the fence anymore when I look behind. You know what I say on Twitter about him, but it's funny. Like I have an app that shows me my social media memories. From that day, it'll show my Facebook posts, Instagram posts, tweets. And now I'm getting tweets from 3 years ago where I'm talking about Allegri and how it's stale and how there's no creativity in the offense, and it's just the same thing 3 years later. And Gianni could vouch. We were doing this podcast 3 years ago, and I was saying those things. And I think Juve, they had an idea. When was he hired? I guess last May, right? He would have been hired in May or June. Whenever he was hired, at the time, Juve had the idea of keeping Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Of being a serious contending team. And obviously those plans fell through one game into the season. So I think if Ronaldo left right away, maybe Pirlo would have stayed. I still say Pirlo should have stayed because he did more as a rookie coach with zero experience and zero mercato too than an experienced coach right now. Sure, Pirlo had Ronaldo, yeah, but Allegri he was able to bring in Vlahovic, Zakaria, and Locatelli. Pirlo had none of that. So we can make these comparisons all day long, but like you said, it's just there's nothing going on. It's frustrating to watch. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've lost a bit of interest this year just because when I watch the games, they're honestly painful to watch. They're not entertaining. We watch sports for entertainment. Of course, we watch sports to see our team win, but at the end of the day, you just want to have fun, and we haven't had that. The one time we had that was against Roma, and maybe the game against Chelsea at home in the Champions League. But
even that was a fluke, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry to steal your question, Adrian, because I know you haven't asked one yet, but I guess perfect timing.
Yeah, no, it's good points, right? And it kind of brings me to just an overall question for you, Luch. You talk about Allegri, on the fence. Everybody's on the fence, but for fuck's sake, does this team have an identity or what? Like, what's the deal with this? Because you mentioned the players, that's a good question. I'm going to have to take off my bias. I'm going to have to take off my bias, my Milan bias, or anti-Juve because I can't stand Juve. But guys, if we're talking serious, and I know that's why we have a guy like Lucci on, because we can have this type of conversation. The players are there. You guys are going to lose most probably Dybala, which again we can talk about that later if you want. But you guys bring in Vlahovic, you guys bring in other pieces. Yes, it's not pieces of let's say your midfield of old, but you brought in some additions. It's not perfect, but it's still something. But yet again, for me, Juve struggled this season immensely compared to years past. And for me, I don't even know if they have an identity. What's your take on that? And if you want to add anything in there, Luch,
if I may piggyback quickly just before Lucci, you answer because I feel like as if, and Lucci, just to add on, in your opinion, do you feel like as if a lot of the players were just a mishmash of players that were trying to be brought in to be implemented in different systems at different times, and now it's like more or less of a better term, a Frankenstein of a Juventus team where these are just a bunch of players that some of them are individually talented, but maybe it's because as a collective, do they actually click well?
But plus also Lucci, sorry, not because I just brought another thought in my head, and then you can steal the 4, Lucci. But also 4 coaching changes in 4 years. Yeah, this is not something that we see at Juve. It's not something we see on any top team in any top league in any top sport that you watch. So again, Lucci, the 4 is yours. Take it away. What do you make about all this?
Well, yeah, I was going to actually mention that in with Johnny's question that I think you bring in new players every summer, and then you're also bringing in a different coach after you've already brought in these players. So, you've brought in players for maybe a certain manager that's not going to fit the next style. We've seen that specifically with Kulusevski. He was one of the main targets brought in for Sarri, who didn't even last, till the next summer. So you have that, you do have a mismatch of players and, different, who might work in this system, someone might work better in another system. Yeah. And then to go along with that, the Allegri tactics are so clearly based defensive first and hold the ball and then, try to counterattack. But, that's not going to work for every team. That's not going to work in Champions League. And, if you see the same thing over and over again. And I think that's where we struggle. We struggle to score goals. Nick can attest to this, that, during the 90 minutes, we see, 15, 20 long balls up to Vlahovic and expect him, to do nothing or do something out of nothing. Like, here, just, take it and see what you can do with this ball and, hopefully score us a goal. I understand and I appreciate Allegri, defense first. Whatever, that's fine. That's how you want to play. I get it. But you also need to work on the offensive side of the ball. You need to have some kind of creativity, some strategies going into the opposition third, some set plays, something. Every time they get in, near the offensive goal, they look lost. No one knows where to pass. No one knows where to go. Cross it. Quadrado he'll send in 19 crosses. He'll be lucky if he connects with 2. So you're just turning over possession once again. it's frustrating. Bologna was probably the icing on the cake for me when I saw like we just had nothing going. Even the tying goal was pure luck out of a brilliant play by Morata, to be honest. And Dybala's gone. That situation is what it is. I still don't think he's worth the money he's asking for, so that's fine. But as long as if they do decide to stick with Allegri, which I think is most likely going to be the case for going into next season, you got to bring in some players that he wants. Whether we think that's the right system or not, or tactics, just bring him players that he thinks will help this team, because the talent is there. Like we said, there's talented players. Now just you got to find those missing pieces to try to put everything together, or else we're going to be seeing the same up and down and sideways garbage for who knows how long, right?
Until they build that identity, in my opinion, Lucci.
Yeah.
Because if not, I think you're spot on. Because I do think, and again, I mentioned it many times this episode, but I was on Football Worldwide with Anthony Privatera there from Australia and company. I did say a quick word about Juventus there too. They do have these younger players. I don't think they need an overhaul, in my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. I do think they need some more plug-and-play pieces in positions where they're so desperately needed. Yeah. Because they have some cornerstone players that they can build off of. And again, guys, for me, if Chiesa, the De Ligt, obviously now Vlahovic. I don't mind Zakaria. He's a little decent, nothing. Yeah,
you guys
great,
stole
but
him
nothing
from Roma.
Terrible.
Roma had him on their sites as well for Zakaria, and Juve came in and swept him up.
But just to say, these are small pieces, cornerstone pieces that they can build that they can build upon. Mm-hmm. If they don't do that, and if they don't build that identity, because a team with no identity, you might as well call it a wrap. You might as well call it just a coast of a season. Because for me, if there's no identity and you don't know what type of football you're playing, what type of culture you're playing, and it's just a guessing game, a long ball game in your case, like you're mentioning, Lucci, it's not gonna work in my personal opinion.
Absolutely. It's Vlahovic is a great player. Chiesa is a great player. But, obviously Chiesa's missed a whole bunch of time, whatever. But again, going just specifically on Vlahovic, yes, he's a great player. But let's not forget, he's only 22. Allegri cannot expect him to perform miracles game in and game out at 22 years old, especially since he's only been with the team of, 3 months now? Whatever it's been, 2 months?
Yeah, a couple.
So, I mean, like, in the eyes of Allegri, he's not even a man, according to his latest quote about the whole, in Italy, players are not men until they're 23.
I don't even want to touch on that, because we'll be here all day if I start talking about that.
But what Allegri also said, Artur is dead. So
he's dead. He's right about that, because Artur can see the exit door as soon as possible.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Artur, right, Lucci? You have a framed jersey. You have a picture of him.
I could make those sideways and backwards passes too if you want to put me in that position. Sure, no problem.
And pay me $7 million a year.
Exactly. You can pay me.
How much is getting a year? €7 million a year?
No, I'm joking. I just put a number out there.
It's somewhere around there.
Yeah,
really?
5, 6. Yeah, easily.
Oh, that's a lot.
Pay me half, and I'll do the exact same thing. I'll get hurt just as much, and no problem.
There you go.
But Lucci, we did get a question. Sorry, we did get a question you already answered from Joseph from Calcio Fan Blogs. Do you think Juve will keep Allegri next season? But he also asked, you said you think he'll stay, but he also asked, do you want Allegri to stay for next season?
Yeah, so it's a tough one, because I do think he'll stay, just because we can't keep, Adri said, we can't keep going through coaches like it's, a carousel.
Your underwear. You're changing your underwear. You're changing culture, guys.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
That's not acceptable at Juve, and I don't think it's really acceptable throughout all of Italy. But from what I've seen, I'm gonna say the only problem is I don't know who else is available. But if, let's say, there was ample options out there, I would say you'd have to move. If possible, you'd have to move. We have no attacking game. We have no creativity. Yes, Dybala this, Dybala that. That's fine, but not everything has to go through Dybala. You have other pieces. We saw with when Chiesa was healthy, he was playing him as as either a striker or practically a right wing back. That's not where he's gonna play. He needs to play closer to the goal. Like, that's how he was good for Italy. That's how he's good with Pirlo last year. he's just missed. Like last year, we saw Chiesa have a great year. We saw Morata even have a decent year compared to this year. Cuadrado had an incredible amount of assists. This year, all three of them have practically been, invisible. And does that come down to the coach? Does that come down to his tactics and his system? I think so. A certain portion of it definitely does.
And it's also one of those like situations where it's a catch-22. It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because if you do keep him and it's the same story next year, trying to fit, let's say, square pieces into round holes, you're pretty much going to get more or less the same result. I know injuries are still a factor, but do they have the team that if they're mismanaged, to compete against the likes of Milan or Inter for the Scudetto? Do they have that in terms of player quality? Yes. Mm-hmm. But there is a management factor that is involved. And then if you let go of a guy like Allegri, Lucci, you said it perfully. Who do you replace him with? What's available out there? What's the market like?
Yeah, that's my biggest concern.
And you would have to probably maybe try somebody who's not as experienced, or somebody who's going to be like, well, this is your first major team that you're managing. Good luck, type of thing. So